Hey kitchen people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa. I am the owner and creator of the Floral Apron blog, and today I am here to show you how to make caramel chai muffins. These are a sweet chai spiced muffin with a crunchy streusel topping and glazed with a salted caramel sauce. So much cardamom and cinnamon and ginger in here, and it blends so well with the caramel. I cannot wait for you to make these at home. Let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is mix together all of our dry ingredients. I have my flour, some baking powder, and baking soda in this big bowl, and I'm going to add in my brown sugar and my white sugar. And you can use a spoon. I like to use the spatula that I'm going to use later, that way I have less dishes. We are just going to mix this all together. I do have a couple of clumps of brown sugar, and if I find them, I try to pat them out. Just keep mixing until it looks pretty well mixed. It really shouldn't take it that long. We will set this aside, and then we will move on to our wet ingredients. I like to use a medium saucepan for this next step. I take my stick of butter along with all of my spices. I have cinnamon, cardamom, ginger, and a few star anise in here. Really like the flavor that star anise gives, but if you can't find any, feel free to leave them out. Once our butter melts, we're going to add in our yogurt and our milk, and we are going to mix that all together before we add in our egg, just to make sure that the egg doesn't accidentally cook. Then we'll add in the egg, mix that all together, and then throw in the caramel at the end. I like to add the spices to my butter instead of my dry mixture, simply because when you heat spices, the flavor gets a lot stronger. The only problem to this is making sure that you take the star anise pods out before you mix anything else in, because if you leave those in, they're hard to take out and it is not fun to eat them. Now I'm going to add in my yogurt, I'll mix that together, and then I'll add in my milk. I spent so long talking about how to take the star anise pods out that I forgot to do it myself. But I did find them before I started to mix in the yogurt, so all 5 of them are out and we can mix in the yogurt without any problems. And now that I am sure that my mixture is no longer hot, I can safely add in my egg. Then finally I will add in just a couple tablespoons of my salted caramel sauce. Next we're going to incorporate our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. So I do this simply by pouring it in the middle, and then scraping down my pan to make sure that I get every last drop. And then we are going to gently fold this together. I like to go around the edges and pull the flour in towards the middle. And then once I've gone around the whole way, it makes that a little bit easier to then reach into the middle and fold all of this liquid into the flour. This is a very thick muffin batter, and that helps it rise really well in the oven. Once it looks like it's starting to get pretty well mixed, kind of slow down and start looking for any flour clumps. Wow, that is a big, look how much I missed. Okay. A very important step in this recipe is letting the dough relax for at least half an hour. I like to put it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. This helps the flour hydrate, and it will also help the gluten relax a little bit, which will give you a much softer cake than if you put it in the oven directly. And I know 30 minutes is quite a bit of time, but it is 100% worth it. While we are waiting for my dough to chill, I am going to make the streusel topping. We will take a couple tablespoons of butter. If you want, you can cube it before you even throw it into the bowl. In our bowl, put the rest of the butter back in the fridge. Then we'll add in all of our spices, our brown sugar, and our flour. And then I like to use just a simple fork to cut the butter into the flour and the spice mixture. The key to making a good streusel is having irregular chunks of butter. So do your best to keep the chunks of butter irregular. I like to just mash them between the tines of the fork and then run them along the side of the bowl to get them off of my fork. This does take a few minutes, which is why we do it while the dough is chilling in the fridge. And if you have some butter that's stuck in between the tines, use the knife that you cut the butter with to get them out. Just really easy, nice little tip. I just like everything to be one even consistency, and having these little crumbles kind of drives me a little insane. I always think, well, they could be a little bit smaller. It's better to just leave it as I continue poking it with a fork. It resembles a course meal with a couple irregular shapes, which is what we're looking for. We are gonna put this in the fridge to chill as well because we want the butter as cold as possible when it goes into the oven. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself for another 20 minutes while I wait for the dough to chill, but maybe I'll do dishes. I'll do dishes. There are a couple larger bowls associated with this muffin recipe, but for the most part, everything can go in the dishwasher. I really only have to wash a couple of things by hand. So while it might not be low cleanup, it is certainly easy cleanup if you have a dishwasher. It's been about half an hour. I am ready to start putting my batter into muffin cups. Oh, it smells like fall. I used to use a cookie dough or an ice cream scoop to put it into their little paper cups, but I found that a normal tablespoon works a lot better and it's a lot easier to clean. I start by just putting about a tablespoon in each, and then I divide the rest of it. Like, guys, look at how thick that is. So I put about a heaping tablespoon in each one. Sometimes the spoon doesn't cooperate and it takes me a little bit longer to get it in there. You'll have pretty full muffin cups at the end of this. I like to go back with my spatula and make sure that I've got most of this out. Just makes it a lot easier to clean the bowl later and you don't have any wasted batter. Once I have all of the batter in their cups, I like to smooth out the top a bit just to make sure that the streusel will sit on it a little bit nicer. Okay, these look pretty good. I'm gonna put my bowl aside and then we can start our topping. Again, I use a regular teaspoon just to put the streusel on top. And give it a little bit of a stir just to make sure that I don't have all of the butter pieces on top. And I sprinkle just about a teaspoon on top of each. I have a little bit left over, but these look pretty well coated. Just kidding, I can get more on this edge. Okay, if there are any larger pieces of butter on the side, I pick them up and put them on top of a muffin because these are the best parts of the streusel. If all there is a little bit of powder on the edges, you're fine, but save the butter pieces. My oven is preheated to 400, so I am gonna put these in for 5 minutes. and then we're gonna lower the temp to 375. Another really good tip to get these muffins to have their best rise is by incorporating a little bit of steam. I know that my oven can handle a few ice cubes, so I like to toss a couple ice cubes when I put the muffins in. However, if you're not sure if that's fine for your oven, I would recommend putting about ½ an inch of water into a baking dish and putting that on a lower rack. That'll give you the same sort of steaming effect. I have my ice cubes ready to go, and my muffins are looking really good. So I am gonna put these in and then throw my ice cubes in right after. I love that immediate steam. Best thing. These muffins have only been in for 3 minutes and it already is all around the house and it smells so good. Once the muffins have been in for their 5 minutes at 400 degrees, we'll lower the temp to 375 and continue baking until they're golden brown, which is about 12 to 15 minutes. Oh guys. These muffins have so much rice on them. I'm so excited for you to see them when they come out of the oven. Let's roll. Here are our muffins, and they look so good. We're gonna wait to drizzle these with caramel because if I top them right now, the caramel is just going to soak into the muffin and you won't really be able to see it on top. So we will wait until they're cooled and then we will dig in. My muffins have cooled significantly. They're a little bit warm to the touch, but we're not frosting them with buttercream, so it's fine if you want to drizzle them with caramel a little bit early. This is my salted caramel sauce. I have the recipe for it on my blog. We used it inside of these muffins, and we're also going to put it on the outside just for good measure. I have this recipe along with the caramel chai muffins in the description box just to make everything easy for you to find. Snip off just the very tip of my piping bag here, and you can use a spoon and just drizzle it on. I think this is a little bit cleaner. It's still kind of messy because it's gonna drip on the bottom, but I can clean my counter later. It's fine. So I just take it and drizzle a couple lines on each. This caramel sauce is a much thinner consistency than just straight caramel, and so it ends up sort of glazing the top of these as opposed to sitting on top. I've tried this recipe with thicker caramel and it peels off all in one bite. I like to have the caramel in a really thin glaze on top. You get that caramel flavor, but it's not overpowering and it doesn't peel off in one bite. If you have a little bit of your caramel sauce left over after it's dripped off, you can totally go back the other way for a little crosshatch caramel action. Then I wait for them to stop dripping so that I can clean the counter after, and then you don't see the drips in the intro. So keep dripping, dudes. I am so excited to eat this. I have made these no less than 5 times already this fall, and they just get better every single time I eat them. So a really nice golden, oh man, look at this. Look at that. Look at how good that is. Oh man. I'm not normally a fork for a muffin type of person, but this is a little bit sticky. So we're gonna put our knife, put our fork in here. Look at how tender this is. You have this really nice caramel glaze on top. There's just enough caramel in here to complement the chai spice, but there's not so much that it overwhelms all of the spice. And it... Because it's a salted caramel sauce too, there's enough of that salt to kind of counteract the sweetness, and it... Oh, this is divine. This muffin is just so tender and moist. I mean, look at this crumb. It's ready to just break apart. My hands are already super messy, so what does this matter? It's a good muffin. Again, you can find the full recipe on my blog at floralapron.com, along with the recipe I used for the salted caramel sauce, and that is really good, just dipped with apples. Ooh, so good. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you had as much fun as I did while I was making these muffins. You can stay up to date with me throughout the week with Facebook and Instagram, where I post kitchen sagas all the time because I like to keep it real in my kitchen. I wish you all the best in becoming the kitchen person you were made to be, and I hope that I can help you along in your journey. I'll see you soon. Bye. I'm not gonna eat another one, but kind of want to.